I'm hitting the button. We are recording once again here in the final hour of the Henry George Daily devotional. Of course, it may rise again. Who knows? All right. We just read that we ought not call the political economy the dismal science. Instead, it should be radiant with hope. I assume. I don't know if John is here. We don't have any confirmation in the chat. He just messaged me on Discord. I can't wait any longer. All right, so political economy. For properly understood, the laws which govern the production and distribution of wealth show that the want and injustice of the present social state are not necessary, but that on the contrary, a social state is possible in which poverty would be unknown, and all the better qualities and higher powers of human nature would have opportunity for full development. And further than this, when we see that social development is governed neither by a special providence nor by a merciless fate, but by law, at once unchangeable and beneficent, when we see that human will is the great factor, and that taking men in the aggregate, their condition is as they make it, when we see that economic law and moral law are essentially one, and that the truth which the intellect grasps after toilsome effort is but that which the moral sense reaches by a quick intuition, trust your heart, not your head. A flood of light breaks in upon the problem of individual life. These countless millions like ourselves, who on this earth of ours have passed, and still are passing, with their joys and sorrows, their toil and their striving, their aspirations and their fears, their strong perceptions of things deeper than sense, their strong perceptions of things deeper than sense, their common feelings form the basis even of the most divergent creeds. Their little lives do not seem so much like meaningless waste. The great fact which science in all her branches shows is the universality of law. Wherever he can trace it, whether in the fall of an apple or in the revolution of binary suns, the astronomer sees the working of the same law, which operates in the minutest divisions in which we may distinguish space, as does in the immeasurable distances with which his science deals, as it does in the immeasurable sciences with which his science deals. Out of that which lies beyond his telescope comes a moving body, and again it disappears. So far as he can trace its course, the law is ignored. Does he say that this is an exception? On the contrary, he says that this is merely a part of its orbit that he has seen, and that beyond the reach of his telescope the law holds good. He makes his calculations, and after centuries they are proved. Now, if we trace out the laws which govern human life in society, we find that in the largest as in the smallest community they are the same. We find that what seem at first sight like divergences and exceptions are but manifestations of the same principles. And we find that everywhere we can trace it, the social law runs into and conforms with the moral law. That in the life of a community, justice infallibly brings its reward and injustice its punishment. But this we cannot see in individual life. If we look merely at individual life, we cannot see that the laws of the universe have the slightest relation to good or bad, to right or wrong, to just or unjust. Footnote: Let us not delude our children, if for no other reason than for that which Plato gives, that when they come to discard that which we told them as pious fable, they will also discard that which we told them as truth. Yes, I recall that Plato was against fables for kids. The virtues which relate to self do generally bring their reward. Either a merchant or a thief will be more successful if he be sober, prudent, and faithful to his promises. But as to the virtues which do not relate to self, it seems a story from the world of spirits when anyone obtains that which he merits, or any merits that which he obtains. I didn't quite follow that, but oh well. There is something, I would say, in opposition to this. Uh, there are so many different kinds of systems. You could very easily have a system like I don't find this compelling. The idea that what guides the progression of a small society should stay true for a large society, because you can imagine systems that have sort of startup conditions and then other conditions which are required to maintain them, right? Shifting gears, so to speak. I guess I'm trying to think of sort of examples. The only thing I keep thinking of saying the same kind of example over and over, which is just you have to have some initial spark to start your engine, or the right, ingredients to, uh, what do you call it? I don't know. The right elements present to start a chemical reaction. But like once in motion, both of those examples kind of are carried forward by momentum. I don't know. I just don't see this as compelling. I do believe it. I just don't think that it has to be absolutely necessarily true from some previous um, a priori, as they might say. Shall we then say that the law which is manifest in social life is not true of individual life? It is not scientific to say so. We should not say so in reference to anything else. Shall we not rather say this simply proves that we do not see the whole of individual life? The laws which political economy discovers, like the facts and relations of physical nature, harmonize with what seems to be the law of mental development. Not a necessary and involuntary progress, but a progress in which the human will, is an initiatory force. But in life, as we are cognizant of it, mental development can go but a little way. The mind hardly begins to awake ere the bodily powers decline. It but becomes dimly conscious of the vast fields before it, but begins to learn and use its strength, to recognize relations and extend its sympathies. When, with the death of the body, it passes away, that was the end of that sentence. It becomes dimly conscious of the vast fields before it, but begins to learn and use its strength, to recognize relations and extend its sympathies. When, with the death of the body, it passes away. Unless there is something more, there seems here a break, a failure. Whether it be a Humboldt or a Herschel, a Moses who looks from Pisgah. This is where, like, Moses didn't actually get to enter the promised land because he struck the rock with his staff and got in trouble. Pretty sure he just went up on the mountain or hill of Pisgah and watched Joshua, who led them in. I forget who Herschel Walker and Humboldt were, but is it Herschel Walker? Oh, well, that's definitely not the Herschel he's talking about. My mom grew up in a little town called Humboldt. Well, she lived in a couple little towns. He's just a philosopher, Humboldt. Wilhelm von Humboldt. Oh no, younger brother. He's Alexander von Humboldt, I guess was the more famous one. A Joshua who leads the host, or one of those sweet and patient souls who in narrow circles live radiant lives. There seems, if mind and character here developed can go no further, a purposelessness inconsistent with what we can see of the linked sequence of the universe. Ignition versus flywheel, yeah. By a fundamental law of our minds, the law in fact upon which political economy relies in all her deductions, we cannot conceive of a means without an end, a contrivance without an object. Now to all nature, so far as we come in contact with it in this world, the support and employment of the intelligence that is in main furnishes such an end and object. But unless man himself may rise to or bring forth something higher, his existence is unintelligible. So strong is this metaphysical necessity that those who deny to the individual anything more than this life are compelled to transfer the idea of perfectibility to the race. But as we have seen, and the argument could have been made much more complete, there is nothing whatever to show any essential race improvement. Human progress is not the improvement of human nature. The advances in which civilization consists are not secured in the constitution of man, but in the constitution of society. They are thus not fixed and permanent, but may at any time be lost. Nay, are constantly tending to be lost, and further than this, if human life does not continue beyond what we see of it here, then we are confronted, with regard to the race, with the same difficulty as with the individual. For it is as certain that the race must die as it is that the individual must die. We know that there have been geologic conditions under which human life was impossible on this earth. We know that they must return again. Even now as the earth circles on her appointed orbit, the northern ice cap slowly thickens, and the time gradually approaches, when its glaciers will flow again, and austral seas sweeping northward bury the seats of present civilization under ocean wastes. As it is global warming, as it may be, they now bury what was once as high a civilization as our own, and beyond these periods, science discerns a dead earth, an exhausted sun, a time when, clashing together, the solar system shall resolve itself into a gaseous form, again to begin immeasurable mutations. But what then is the meaning of life? Of life absolutely and inevitably bounded by death? To me it seems intelligible only as the avenue and vestibule to another life, and its facts seem explainable only upon a theory which cannot be expressed but in myth and symbol, and which everywhere and at all times the myths and symbols in which men have tried to portray their deepest perceptions do in some form express. The scriptures of the men who have been and gone, the Bibles, the Zend Avestas, the Vedas, the Dhammapadas, and the Qurans, the esoteric doctrines of old philosophies, the inner meaning of grotesque religions, the dogmatic constitutions of ecumenical councils, the preachings of Foxes and Wesleys and Savonarolas, I don't know that guy, the traditions of red Indians and beliefs of black savages have a heart and core in which they agree, a something which seems like the variously distorted apprehensions of a primary truth. And out of the chain of thought we have been following, there seems vaguely to rise a glimpse of what they vaguely saw. a shadowy gleam of ultimate relations, the endeavor to express which inevitably falls into type and allegory. A garden in which are set the trees of good and evil, a vineyard in which there is the master's work to do, a passage from life behind to life beyond, a trial and a struggle of which we cannot see the end. Look around today. Lo, here now in our civilized society, the old allegories yet have a meaning. The old myths are still true. Into the valley of the shadow of death yet often leads the path of duty. Through the streets of Vanity Fair walk Christian and faithful, and on great heart's armor ring the clanging blows. Uh, so that's like Pilgrim's Progress, and that's Psalm 23. I don't know this. Well, I mean, Valley of Shadows of Death is also in Pilgrim's Progress. I don't know. Ormuzd still fights with Ahriman, the Prince of Light with the power of darkness. He who will bear to him the clarions of the battle call. How they call and call and call till the heart swells that hears them. Strong soul and high endeavor, the world needs them now. Beauty still lies imprisoned, and iron wheels go over the good and true and beautiful that might spring from human lives. And they who fight with Ormuzd, though they may not know each other, somewhere sometime will the muster roll be called. Though truth and right seem often overborne, we may not see it all. How can we see it all? All that is passing even here we cannot tell. The vibrations of matter, which give the sensations of light and color, become to us indistinguishable when they pass a certain point. It is only within a like range that we have cognizance of sounds. Even animals have senses which we have not. And here, compared with the solar system, our Earth is but an indistinguishable speck, and the solar system itself shrivels into nothingness when gauged with the star depths. Shall we say that what passes from our sight passes into oblivion? No, not into oblivion. Far, far beyond our ken, the eternal laws must hold their sway. The hope that rises is the heart of all religions. The poets have sung it, the seers have told it, and in its deepest pulses the heart of man throbs, responsive to its truth. This that Plutarch said is what in all times and in all tongues have been said by the pure-hearted and strong-sighted, who standing as it were on the mountain tops of thought, and looking over the shadowy oceans, have beheld the loom of land. Men's souls, encompassed here with bodies and passions, have no communication with God, except what they can reach to in conception only, by means of philosophy, as by a kind of an obscure dream. But when they are loosed from the body, and removed into the unseen, invisible, impassable, and pure region, this God is then their leader and king. They there, as it were, hanging on him wholly, and beholding without weariness, and passionately affecting that beauty which cannot be expressed or uttered by men. And that's it. We have finished reading Progress and Poverty, an inquiry into the cause of industrial depressions and increase of want with increase of wealth, the remedy, by Henry George, published in 1879. There may not be a next time. There'll probably be a next time. Yeah, the whole final third of Progress and Poverty is just about the possibility of the human species that we could unlock if we were to live in justice. It is mostly ignored by Lars Doucet in his writings, um, which is fine. Um, he is definitely of the soft cell. Anyway, I feel like the powerful concluding words have now been uh, dampened by my random commentary. I'm now ending the recording. See you.